Thank you. You may take your seats. Excellencies, our program today is quite a short one. I'll be making a statement which will be followed by a statement by the Secretary General, Dr. Gomes. This will be followed by statements by each of the 6 regional coordinators, followed by a statement by the Dean of the ACP ambassadors. After that, we'll make a presentation of a symbolic gift to the Secretary General. We will then follow our program by a cocktail downstairs. Dean of the ACP ambassadors, Secretary General, Excellencies, dear colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Our committee is meeting this afternoon to bid farewell to His Excellency Dr. Patrick I. Gomes, Secretary General of the ACP Group, whose tenure as head of the Secretariat has come to an end. Secretary General, on behalf of my fellow ambassadors, I wish to convey to you the admiration and sincere gratitude of the ACP Committee of Ambassadors for all the work you have been able to accomplish during your tenure. Over the past 5 years, you have indeed embodied the best that our Secretariat has to offer its member states. Your hard work and passion for our organization can be attested to by all of us. From the moment you took office on 1st March 2015, you were committed to revitalizing the Secretariat to enable it to be better able to meet the ever-increasing expectations of the group's member states, in particular, and of our various development partners. This prompted you to develop a strategic management plan for the Secretariat, with strategic objectives focused, among other things, on enhancing intra-ACP cooperation, advancing South-South and triangular cooperation, and enhancing the visibility of the ACP Group in order to meet the many challenges, but also face up to the new economic and geopolitical realities to which we must adapt. In this context, you also took steps to make the ACP Group more visible on the international scene. In collaboration with the Committee of Ambassadors, you helped to enhance the ACP Group's visibility and to achieve major international success. I am pleased to recall that it was during your tenure that, for the first time, the Secretary General of the ACP Group addressed the United Nations General Assembly in New York in September 2015, when the Sustainable Development Goals were adopted. Under your leadership, over these past 5 years, the ACP Group has also striven to strengthen its United Nations observer status and to participate in high-level meetings organized on the sidelines of the General Assembly, as well as carry out parallel activities to increase the visibility of both the ACP Group and the fundamental issues that it addresses. Based on your initiatives and proposals, the ACP Group took steps to seek out and maintain diverse partnerships with the countries of the South through the promotion of South-South and triangular cooperation. In the light of the increasingly important role that South-South and triangular cooperation plays in the achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals, you worked assiduously to strengthen the Secretariat's role in this area by opening the ACP Information Center for South-South and Triangular Cooperation in Malabo, Equatorial Guinea, which will undoubtedly help to facilitate the sharing of experiences and expertise among ACP countries and other partners. During your tenure, the ACP Group also played an active role at COP21 in Paris, which adopted the Paris Agreement in December 2015. Regarding our organization's future, I am pleased to recall that during your tenure, important decisions were made to shape the future of our common organization. From the summit of ACP heads of state and government in Port Moresby to that of Nairobi, and the Council of Ministers meetings in Dakar and Lomé, our leaders paved the way that led our ministers to adopt the ACP negotiating mandate in Lomé, Togo, in May 2018. One constant concern that drove your actions was the Secretariat's financial sustainability, which is why you worked tirelessly to sensitize our states to regularly pay their contributions to the Secretariat's operational budget, on one hand, and to establish the ACP Endowment and Trust Fund on the other. Under your leadership, major strides were made in the establishment of this fund, which will be able to benefit from donations, philanthropic contributions, and ethical investments. I am also pleased to underscore the important initiatives undertaken in conjunction with the Committee of Ambassadors to modernize the governance of our group's affairs. The revised Georgetown Agreement, which aims to transform the ACP group into an effective global player, was adopted and reaffirms the objectives of the ACP group of states, which will henceforth be called the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, OACPS. These are mere examples of the many accomplishments that you were able to register during your tenure. Distinguished ambassadors, dear colleagues, I would be remiss if I failed to recognize the great work of the management team that enabled the Secretary General to achieve so much during the past 5 years. I know some of you would be continuing for the next 2 months or so, but let me seize this opportunity to sincerely thank all of you for the services you have rendered during the past 5 years. I would like to call out your names, and please give them a round of applause. Mr. Viwanu Nyasunu, Assistant Secretary General, Department of Sustainable Economic Development and Trade. Dr. Henrik Barnes, Assistant Secretary General, Department of Macroeconomic Development, Finance, and Inter-ACP Programming. Mr. George Manuiri, Assistant Secretary General, Administration, Budget, and Human Resources. Ambassador Leonard Onimba, Assistant Secretary General, Political Affairs, who is not with us today. I would also want to recognize the hard work of the Chef de Cabinet, Mr. Morgan Karinji Gitinje. Excellencies, I also wish to recognize the sterling work done by the Director of the CTA, Dr. Mikhail Hailu, who unfortunately is not here with us, but we want to recognize his hard work, having also come to the end of his tenure as Director of CTA. Mr. Secretary General, as your tenure as head of the ACP Secretariat in Brussels comes to an end, I reiterate our sincere congratulations to you for the good work that you have accomplished during your tenure, and I assure you of the deep gratitude of the Committee of Ambassadors. The exceptional relationships built on trust, cooperation, and friendship that you successfully forged with the ACP ambassadors in Brussels, both professionally and personally, will long be remembered by all of us individually and collectively. We particularly thank you for your patience and calm demeanor, even when the temperature in room C gets a bit hot sometimes. You have most certainly done your part to consolidate the ACP group and strengthen ACP-EU relations. As I bid you au revoir, you and your team, on behalf of my colleagues, I wish you good health, long life, and every success in all your future endeavors. Finally, it is often said that behind every successful man is a strong woman. Please extend our sincere gratitude to your dear wife, Dr. Charmaine Gomes, for being by your side and supporting you throughout the past 5 years. I thank you, SD. I now give the floor to you, SG, for your statement.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Instructions of Professor Senghor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Puis-je... Excellence, Monsieur le Secrétaire Général entrant, Georges Rebel-Chicoté, Mesdames et Messieurs les représentants des missions, ACP, Communauté économique régionale, Organisation d'intégration régionale, mes chers collègues sous-secrétaires généraux, membres de la direction, Mesdames et Messieurs les agents du secrétariat, Mesdames et Messieurs les interprètes, auprès de qui je m'excuse pour l'allure rapide avec laquelle je me suis souvent exprimé ici. Chers frères et sœurs, cette décision du comité des ambassadeurs de m'inviter à cette cérémonie, pour cette session spéciale, pour me dire au revoir, est un honneur pour lequel je vous suis très reconnaissant.
Only pleasantries of the last 5 years of service by the outgoing management. Perhaps it can also be an opportunity to look back and forward, to ponder together some of what we have learned from each other, ensemble. We might also ask how the rich and challenging experiences might provide insights for a better and brighter future of this organization we all so dearly love. In expressing my gratitude to the Committee of Ambassadors, and in particular to you, Madam Chairperson, how fortunate it would be that it is you are in the chair from Gambia, where my place of heart lies for various reasons. I wish to emphasize how great a learning opportunity the ACP has afforded me, the Secretary General, and your Assistant Secretaries General. In fact, I'm leaving with a heavily unpaid debt, a debt of deep gratitude to many, to the CARIFORUM Group, for their confidence and moral support, times testing, yet strongly supporting. The staff, whom at times I may have pushed and made extra heavy demands or may have offended unintentionally. All levels of staff show their competence and commitment, especially under pressure. To each one, a very special thank you. To ambassadors who, by and large, showed openness and understanding more than personal interest. A legitimate question to be asked is, what have I learned from this learning organization? Let me confine a few remarks to 3 lessons or principles I regard as indispensable for the modest successes that have been achieved. But before the lessons, we may do well to recall some major milestones of the last few years. One is the growth of a core of committed leadership among those heads and leaders of Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific, whom I like to call our champions. They are a solid core, 10 or 12, who, when called upon, have defended the vision and meaning of this unique tricontinental organization. Among those from the African continent, we recall with pride the 10 or 12 who said unequivocally in Addis Ababa on the 14th of September in 2018 that post-Cotonou negotiations shall proceed within an all-ACP framework. That was a historic moment for solidarity in practice. I continue to salute such leadership of our heads of state and government. A second major milestone is the amended Georgetown Agreement of 2019, declaring us an international organization. We must work and act to let that proclamation be truly earned with the appropriate status. In the amended agreement, the voice of the people in the Parliamentary Assembly is embedded as an organ, and IROC, the Interregional Organizations Coordination Committee, as a subsidiary and consultative organ. It is an institutional vehicle to embrace the regional economic communities and regional integration organizations, academia, and civil society to better serve the entire process and movement of serving the Global South. A revised structure might well consider multilateralism, regional organizations, and parliamentary affairs as a separate, dedicated unit. Thirdly, is the great advance and recognition of the ACP group as a strong and vibrant catalyst and armor bearer in the defense, protection, and promotion of multilateralism. This can be effectively pursued through South-South and triangular cooperation, and the ACP has grown leaps and bounds as a welcome hub and a facilitator for South-South and triangular cooperation. It was witnessed here on Tuesday in our symposium. I thank all those who attended and participated. Let me now turn to a few lessons or principles that may have value long after my departure. The first is what I call the primacy of purpose. This is little more than keeping in mind the big picture of what the ACP is all about, a vehicle to serve the Global South in practical terms, which amounts to inclusive, equitable, and sustainable development of the people of the 79 member states of the ACP and beyond. Every meeting, any single event cannot be treated as an end in itself. It serves a purpose. So we must always be conscious of the larger purpose, which is now captured as becoming an effective global player. My second lesson I've learned is appreciation of the amazing breadth and scope of diversity possessed by our 79 member countries, the people and their representatives. A diversity of views, perceptions, interests, attitude, and ambition that come from and shape the different experiences across 3 continents. These are forged to provide the all-pervasive character of the ACP on its pillars of unity and solidarity, Ya Pamoja, stronger together. But this must be painstakingly nurtured and held fast. This unity and solidarity has been tested and proved victorious, but we may do well to anticipate more and difficult tests ahead. Unity and solidarity, so readily referred to, ought not to be taken for granted. The victories built on unity and solidarity must be attributed in large part to the champions, the leaders, member states, ambassadors strongly committed to the larger vision, and to the ordinary people who carry deep convictions and care that to see the purpose is fulfilled, that our founding fathers and mothers were prepared to pursue and make exceptional sacrifices. These were done to defend and hold fast in their conviction that experiences and cultures across 3 continents constitute a comparative advantage once put at the disposal of our societies will engender truly sustainable development. This is a continuous task for a cumulative impact of the talent and ability in the Secretariat. The third gift bestowed on me is a combination of patience and perseverance. I use these terms to capture the importance of tolerance, anxious to intervene in a debate, to convey my view or question what has been said, with much energy and forcefulness, but I clearly hear there is a misunderstanding, a misinterpretation, or a lack of accurate information. Waiting to speak, there is suddenly a voice, elegant and lucid, that provides the intervention with precision and scope to lay to rest doubt and futile time wasting. I have learned to be patient and to listen more than to speak. The benefit of perseverance and timing, better than repetition, will add more to the quality of our decision making. Madam Chairperson, my dear Ambassador, let me not abuse this gracious calm with which you have allowed me to give only those fragments of the gratitude I owe you, the Committee of Ambassadors, the staff, and the organization as a whole. I have drawn from the Committee of Ambassadors a reservoir of learning, enormous experience, and diversity of thought, from which I've learned the primacy and clarity of purpose, the appreciation of diversity, and the wisdom of patience and perseverance. These gifts I will cherish, and the debt I owe you is unrepayable. I leave this generation of leadership with thoughts of a great Caribbean historian, C.L.R. James. To each generation, there falls the duty to stand on the shoulders of the preceding generation, to see further, and to move to greater heights. May the Committee of Ambassadors and the ACP as a whole achieve those greater heights and noble purpose for which it's untapped potential. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary General Gomes. You shall always be a part of ACP. I had convinced myself that I was not going to be emotional, but
I too have tried a bit.
It's not easy. That's why I said au revoir. I did not say goodbye. You shall always remain a part of this organization. Your footprints are firmly embedded here. And true to your nature, your farewell statement is a lesson that we can all learn from, and certainly would be useful lesson for all of us from henceforward. You talked about unity and solidarity, which we should jealously guard, and that resonates with all of us here. I think we are at a threshold in the history of the organization wherein we need to firmly stand in support of that collaboration and unity of the ACP. Thank you very much for those remarks. Excellencies, I now give the floor to the regional coordinators, and the distinguished ambassador of Guinea has requested to speak first because he has a program to attend to. Guinea-Conakry would be speaking on behalf of the coordinator of West Africa, Guinea-Bissau, who is absent today. Ambassador, you have the floor.
Merci.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, Dean of the ACP Diplomatic Corps, Secretary General Dr. Gomes, to our new Secretary General, Mr. Chikoti, dear friends and colleagues, following that brilliant statement by the Chair, which outlined Dr. Gomes's career and Dr. Gomes's emotional statement, it is hard to follow in their footsteps. But as a Deputy Dean of this group, Having spent now 8 years in Brussels, may I take you through some of my time in those 8 years. Dr. Gomes, West Africa is truly grateful to you. The group is currently chaired by the ambassador of Guinea-Bissau, who is deeply apologetic. He had to travel on official business to Guinea-Bissau. You will recall 5 years ago, you were West Africa's choice amongst 3 candidates. And I do recall a meeting of our ministers responsible for the ACP met, and indeed Guinea was fortunate enough to chair the Council of Ministers that presided over your election, our Minister of Finance. And unanimously, the ministers who met at the Metropole Hotel here decided to back you. And it was quite a battle, but we are happy that we came through. We also wish to recall that at the time you were ambassador of your country to Brussels, and that should not be forgotten. You were indeed one of the pioneers who worked on the future of the ACP. You were in charge of the group regarding the reforms to revitalize the ACP. You did that work, and it was under your leadership in that role and during your term that we were able to hold talks with a number of personalities such as Olusegun Obasanjo and his team to reflect on the future. And I recall a trip to Guinea when we were received by the president of my country, and I'm aware of the fruitful exchange you held with the president. So that those are some of the steps in your career. You were also minded to gather the regional groups. We met in Cotonou, and you were received by President Boni Yayi in Benin, and that was an excellent meeting. Now, this is not an exhaustive list, but there is one important achievement to be noted. During your mandate, we held a Nairobi summit, and the Nairobi summit marks a turning point in the future. As we move towards the future, indeed, we were able to transform the group into an international organization, and our official name is now the Organization of ACP States, just like the United Nations organizations. This is now our new name, the OACP. And indeed, you were able to push through the amendment of Georgetown, the Georgetown Agreement, and that is very important. And we were able to broaden our vision so that we would not solely focus on the European Union, but indeed turn towards new partners as well by setting up the Endowment Fund, which is very important. And Dr. Gomes, I could say so much more, but since there are other coordinators who must speak after I do, may I say on behalf of my group, on behalf of the chair of my group, we're really very grateful to you for all that you have done for this organization, and we hope that in the future you will prosper and succeed. And as the chair said, we are simply saying au revoir. You will always be a member of the ACP wherever you go, and we will always be happy to take your advice, perhaps as a consultant. If you come to carry out studies, who knows? And so we certainly do count on that support. And I apologize for leaving at this point. My country is to hold general elections the day after tomorrow and a referendum on a new constitution. And the elections will also be held in Brussels. Now, as you know, with African states, we always have to contend with the opposition, which very often pushes back. And so we're holding a number of meetings today and tomorrow as we prepare for the elections so that the elections will take place smoothly here in Brussels. And that is why the chair has allowed me to speak first, to let you know how deeply we value him as a friend and for his support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador, for that statement and also for reminding us that Dr. Gomes' hard work for our organization started well before he became the Secretary General, having been chair of the Ambassadorial Working Group on the Future Perspectives and following on with the creation of the Eminent Persons Group, and that led to the development of the document, the ACP we want. Thank you. Thank you, Ambassador. I will now invite the Caribbean. Ambassador of Jamaica, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, Excellencies, our dear Secretary General, and our incoming Secretary General, I have the honor to speak on behalf of the Caribbean Group of Ambassadors in Brussels. Let me first use the opportunity formally to align ourselves with the expressions of gratitude by our chairperson to the 4 Assistant Secretaries General and the Chef de Cabinet. We are appreciative of the support which you have all provided to our region, individually and collectively, and to the work of this organization. And you have contributed significantly to the quality and the work which has been produced by this House, and indeed to the stature it now has on the international landscape. I want to wish you all well in your future endeavors. Secretary General, as we were in 2015, when you took office as Secretary General of the ACP Group of States representing the Caribbean region, we are today very proud of the stewardship you have rendered over the past 5 years. It is now a remarkable fact of history that this eminent group of countries from the South and across 3 geographical regions has undergone periods of self-analysis and re-energizing, leaving it much stronger and committed to its mission on each occasion. We will agree that this most recent phase, which unfolded during the tenure of Secretary General Gomes, has distinguished itself by the coincidence of several significant and simultaneous developments which collectively have major implications for the ACP Group. The renewed introspection and culmination in the revised Georgetown Agreement and the planned transformation of the ACP Group into an international organization, the adoption of the ACP negotiating mandate in 2018 and the launch of the post-Cotonou negotiations and the work undertaken until now, the staging of the 9th Summit and adoption of the Nairobi Nguvu-Yapamoja Declaration have, among other developments, set a solid base for the transformation of the ACP Group to better meet the demands of a changing global environment. Throughout your tenure, we could not ignore your unending passion with which you have approached your work, earning the moniker Mr. ACP. While you have clearly put to good use and to the benefit of the ACP Group the knowledge and experience gained in other spheres prior to your service in Brussels, the years spent as ambassador in Belgium and the last 5 years as Secretary General have witnessed the full breadth and depth of your understanding of the ACP and its relations. Secretary General, we notice that you're at your best when you're able to seek opportunities for cooperation, partnership, and creating linkages at all levels. Your grasp of this pursuit was not confined to the academic, but rather in practice you sought to reach beyond Brussels and to set your sights on how to position the ACP Group in other major spheres and centers of multilateralism. The threat of the integration of the ACP on the threshold of the start of post-Cotonou negotiations put our venerable Secretary General into overdrive. He expended his time, energy, and credits to plan, strategize, and execute missions, to lobby in capitals or at some event where he could explain and correct misconceptions that threatened the future of this organization. He did so in Kigali at the launch of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement and at the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting in London, and later that year at the United Nations General Assembly. He was indefatigable, but it helped, and he made important inroads, and here we are now, a still united ACP Group. On behalf of my colleagues, I thank you, Dr. Patrick Ignatius Gomes, for your leadership, for your sterling contribution to the ACP Group as its Secretary General in the name of the region you represented, the Caribbean. We are proud of the dedicated service you rendered, of your commitment to pursuing and achieving the ideals of the organization, and of your unstinting belief in the power of the 79 countries of the South to rise beyond the challenges and to be a force for good in this world. We wish for you wealth, health, peace, well-being, and the satisfaction of knowing that you gave of your best. Madam Chair, I thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, for those words to Mr. ACP. Indeed, we can all attest to that he used every opportunity available to promote the interests of our group, our organization, and today's statement that he delivered is testimony to that. Thank you. I now invite the Central Africa region. Representing Ambassador, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame le Président.
Thank you very much for the floor, Madam Chair, at this memorable event. Mr. Patrick Gomes, the outgoing Secretary General, Dean of the Ambassadors. Now to our dear friend, Patrick Gomes, as you end your term of office on behalf of the entire region of Central Africa, we would like to congratulate you. You've had a very full term of office, which has arrived at its dusk. And we can see that you're now moving to a stage where you will have limitless time. And of course, we will see continuity with change in our organization. That is our greatest desire. We come certainly to meetings here, to the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States. It's not only out of to come and argue. We've come here to put forward our ideas as well. And sometimes we cross swords, and sometimes there are sparks. But the passions lead to wisdom. And this is what we often see in the life of organizations that want to remain dynamic. All the best to you, my dear Patrick Gomes. I hope that the Lord will help you, especially you have shown such virtue here. So it was my pleasure to speak on behalf of my region. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, for those words on behalf of the Central Africa region. I now invite the Southern African region. Ambassador of Zambia, you have the floor, Excellency.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Madam Chairperson, I would like to acknowledge Secretary General, the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, and also the incoming Secretary General. First and foremost, as a region, we would like to align ourselves to the sentiments that you have presented, Madam Chair. On behalf of the region, on Southern Region, we would like to add to the many words that have been said about His Excellency, Dr. Patrick Gomes. Your Excellency, Dr. Gomes, allow me on behalf of the Southern Region to join others in thanking and congratulating you and your team for the job well done. during your tenure of office. You have indeed been a great team with great teamwork. You've been accessible, accommodating, and always at hand to provide technical support, advice, guidance at all the ACP levels and to all our regions, as well as on our bilateral, as well as to attend to all the questions that we have raised to you. Your Excellency, your dedication and your hard work as Secretary General has been exemplary. And your commitment to the work of the ACP Group long before you became SG has been nothing short of commendable. We greatly appreciate your contribution towards the advancement of the agenda of our group, including, but certainly not limited to, the work on the future perspectives of our group, the transformation efforts of the ACP with all the consequent processes that have been seen by our group at the moment, and on the other hand, a summit-level approved revised Georgetown Agreement soon to take effect. On the other hand, all the negotiations that are ongoing with our traditional partners, the EU. Your emphasis and effort on encouraging and securing diversified partnerships for the ACP Group, strengthening the South-South collaboration post-2020, has been consistently commendable. We thank you for working ever so closely with the Committee of Ambassadors to further our agenda in transforming our economies through, among others, private sector-focused interventions, value chain development, financing, capacity building, work on culture, education, mobility and security, and in many other areas. Suffice to say, Your Excellency, that we value your high-quality service and your excellent performance. It has been a great pleasure working with you and your team, and we thank you once again, and we pray that as you move to a next level, that you have great success and that you have a great journey ahead of you. We wish you Godspeed and God's blessings. Thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, for those remarks. We certainly appreciate his high-quality service and excellent performance. Thank you. I'll now give the floor to the Pacific region. Ambassador Fiji, you have the floor.
Thank you, Chair. Your Excellency Ambassador Dr. Patrick Gomes, Secretary General of the ACP. Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening. Your Excellency Secretary General, I had the pleasure of first meeting you long time before I arrived in Brussels at the World Sugar Summit in Cape Town in 2009. We were amongst the other speakers at the summit, and we had such a successful summit. Our only regret was that we could not go to Robben Island because of the bad weather. Our path crossed again when I arrived in Brussels in April 2015, soon after your appointment as Secretary General. I therefore had the opportunity to work with you for the entire tenure in your office. With this background, I feel honored to deliver on behalf of the Pacific ACP states a few words to express our gratitude to you, Secretary General, and your team for your years of service to the family of ACP nations and to your own commitment to the Pacific region. Secretary General, I can say with confidence that all 6 regions of our ACP family express its sadness that your term has come to an end. Your leadership in steering this organization marks an important chapter in your career and a profound impact on our history. Through your leadership, ACP states have stood together stronger, shoulder to shoulder, working towards a common goal of improving the livelihoods of our people. And with you at the head, the visibility of our group has grown, demonstrating to the international community the potential of each country here tonight when we come together as a group. In return, the visibility and potential of ACP group has also grown exponentially, especially at the United Nations. It demonstrates that collectively we can achieve a lot many things together. For the Pacific region, we could not be more welcoming than your leadership and collectiveness of this group towards achieving the Paris Agreement on climate change. And we see this leadership within the ACP addressing the impacts of climate change to each of our regions and pressuring countries to take decisive action in implementing the goals of the Paris Agreement. Secretary General, for many of us in this room, climate change represents a great threat to our economies. For our country, especially in the Pacific, this threat extends to our food security. In Fiji and other member countries, the threat of climate change on our sugar industry has been significant. Coupled with other challenges, this commodity is at stake. But we have taken strides in protecting this industry. Secretary General, it is fair to say that you have been widely recognized as the doyen of sugar industry, which has made so much significant impact on social economic contribution to many ACP countries, particularly in generating export earning and creating employment in rural areas. Perhaps the biggest reform that you oversaw in your tenure here in Brussels, in your current capacity and in your former role, has been the reform of the EU sugar policy in response to the WTO ruling and the EBA initiative. To question the negative impact of EU sugar policy reform on countries formerly supplying sugar under the Sugar Protocol, you played a key role in reaching the agreement with the EU on the Aid for Trade program on the accompanying measures for Sugar Protocol countries, AMSP. This earmarked almost 1.3 billion euros to assist the affected ACP countries by enhancing their competitiveness in the sugar industry. I can confidently speak on behalf of other 6 regions in congratulating you for your successful leading ACP into the partnership with the EU, UN on the initial allocation of 350 million euros for the ACP states to eliminate all forms of violence against women and children through the Spotlight Initiative. This initiative is an investment to address gender equality and gender divide in our countries and also harness the potential that you took. Look around you, 79 ambassadors in this room led by a woman ambassador. This says a lot. And we still have a lot to work more to do to get more of our women in this room. Secretary General, during your tenure, the UN Agenda 2030 and the SDG opened a new era to reposition ACP, that is, to continue to deepen its role in supporting all our states to achieve this goal for our people. Now more than ever, Secretary General, our partnership is crucial in a world that is overburdened by global challenges on climate change, poverty, health, peace, migration, and even access to basic resources and services. Global challenges require global solutions. And this is where multilateral comes into relevance. In unity comes strength, in strength comes change. In this regard, Secretary General, you will leave a legacy for positioning the ACP to address these challenges and make the ACP fit for purpose through the review of the Georgetown Agreement. Secretary General, it will be remiss of me not to acknowledge on behalf of the Pacific people our profound gratitude for your leadership on the negotiation of a successful partnership agreement between the ACP and the European Union. I can say with confidence that your leadership in this process will be a hallmark of your successful career that you have led. As we conclude the negotiations on a new success agreement between the ACP and EU, let's recognize that our people and our future generations depend on this. In closing, may I invite you to take you with you wherever you go your continued determination to support the role of the ACP and our partnership with the European Union. When all is said and done, is the relationships we carry. Looking back, I'm sure you will take fond memories of our relationship and be proud of your accomplishment here at ACP. The Pacific people thank you and your family for the many years of dedication and services and wish you well for your future endeavors. And if by chance we meet again in Cape Town, let's try to go to Robben Islands. Winakabakalewi, and thank you.
Thank you, Ambassador, for that statement on behalf of the Pacific region and indeed on all our behalves. And thank you for also reminding us of the battles that he fought on behalf of the sugar industry and so many others, including at COP21 in Paris. We were all there and we were really proud to be members of the ACP. The visibility of ACP was really pronounced in Paris. We were there, and thank you, SG, for that. And thank you for reminding us of those moments. I now give the floor to East Africa. Ambassador of Mauritius, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the Dean of the Diplomatic Corps, dear Secretary General, incoming Secretary General, Excellencies, and dear colleagues, it is my distinct honor to address this special meeting today on behalf of the East African Group in the absence of the coordinator to bid farewell to our Secretary General, Ambassador Gomes. Indeed, a seasoned diplomat who has presided over the destiny of this organization over the last 5 years. Secretary General, today you are moving from this stage, and tomorrow will be ours. This is a cycle of life, in life. Sir, retirement is not merely an act of ending, but more opportunistically an act of commencement and the promise of a meaningful future. A person of the stature of Ambassador Gomes fits in all the characteristics if we are to describe a perfect, complete human being. Humble and affable, he is liked by all. Charismatic, he tops the list. Professional, we all have witnessed it daily. Jovial, always with his smile. Cool and calm by his softness. Accessible with his availability at all times. Wise and determined, the art of bringing compromise and understanding in differences. Dedicated and devoted to his duty. Tough when the need arises. This is Ambassador Gomes. His distinguished professional career path, hailing from a humble beginning in Guyana, juggling with different responsibilities at the national and regional level, was a unique mix of experience and dedicated professionalism that he brought to the ACP while serving as ambassador and later as Secretary General of the ACP. Madam Chair, while assuming the position of Secretary General of a major developing bloc, he very wisely and ably guided the ACP through a challenging period of shifting global dynamics. Indeed, he has been at the vanguard of many challenges that the ACP family has faced in their developmental strides. Mr. Secretary General, your list of accomplishments that I have witnessed firsthand is quite long, and I will probably leave that to your biographers. However, I do wish to enumerate 3 of them which we consider as historical. First, as a committed multilateralist, your firm leadership role in steering this group to revise and actualize the Georgetown Agreement and transform the ACP from a mere grouping to an organization today, is an indelible mark that you have left in history. Secondly, your resoluteness to ensure that the interests of the ACP states are fully safeguarded and reinforced in the nearly concluded post-Cotonou negotiations is a fitting and enduring legacy which you are leaving to the generations to come. Third, the launch of the Endowment Trust Fund, which if properly managed will make ACP a financially independent organization, is testimony to your deep commitment to the development and prosperity of the ACP states. However, without forgetting your personal commitments and proactive engagement for the promotion of South-South cooperation, particularly on issues of climate change, fisheries, among others, could not be ignored. Indeed, sir, your journey from Georgetown to Brussels has been a diverse but momentous one. Throughout your career, we have noticed your constant efforts to tackle the challenges and initiate actions that would allow the ACP regions to prosper. Your actions and initiatives touch all of us without distinction. Being a Secretary General of a body such as ours is no sinecure. And how could it be otherwise? Madam Chair, many of us may not be aware that Ambassador Gomes was ordained priest at the beginning of his professional career. So this combination of divine spiritual calling, coupled with hands-on experience with the material world, cannot make him fail as a human being and become a tireless advocate for good. I think this is the best embodied in the saying, service to mankind, which he has been doing, is service to God. As you leave, sir, a befitting farewell to you would be for us to build on your legacy and move forward. The road will no doubt be long and arduous. However, the qualities and the direction that you are leaving for this organization shall be the guiding principles to help us to build on it and move forward in a spirit of consultation and engagement. It is unanimously acknowledged that you have constantly sought the interest and the welfare of all the group. We should admit it was not an easy responsibility. And to carry such a heavy cross, it is always said, behind many men, as Madam Chair mentioned, there often stands a force, a presence, whose contribution is too often unacknowledged. I would therefore seize this opportunity to express our deep gratitude to Mrs. Gomes, the entire young lady, for her steadfast support she gave to you in your work, as well as her own dedication to the ACP cause. I would say a big thank you to Madam Gomes. Excellencies, friends and colleagues, it is just a farewell, but not an au revoir. Let me quote from Shakespeare, quote, all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances. And one man in his time plays many parts. And sir, there are many other parts which you have to play. We have no doubt. You, sir, you will proceed to write yet another chapter in an already rich experience after this episode. Once again, on behalf of the group, I wish you and your team of management good health, peace, and all the very best in your new endeavors. I would also like to acknowledge that one of the sons of the soil of the East Africa region, who served as director of CTA for a period of 10 years, we wish him well too. I also take this opportunity to welcome and congratulate the incoming new Secretary General and wish him well. God bless you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellency, for that statement. We now know why Mr. Gomes has all these accolades. We didn't see the priesthood on the we should have worn the collar so that we identify you properly. But thank you so much for those words, which are very, very true to his nature. And we can all attest to that. Professional, jovial, humble, accessible, wise, determined. I was writing and I couldn't keep up, but all very true. Thank you so much, SJ. I now give the floor to to the Dean of the ACP Committee of Ambassadors.
Merci, Madame le Président. Excellences, chers collègues.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Excellencies, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. As Dean of ACP Ambassadors, I'm very happy to add my voice to all those who spoke before me to bid farewell to our outgoing Secretary General, Mr. Patrick Gomes. It's not enough to commend the legacy of this great ACP man. He has devoted a great deal of his professional life to us. And I'm sure the chair knows that for decades, Mr. Gomes has worked in development cooperation. His long time spent here at the ACP has seen some very great moments in our relationship with the EU. There have been deep changes and transformations that he's been able to put his imprint upon. I was ambassador of Cameroon, and now I'm the dean. And I've seen some of these wonderful events. There was an adoption of a strategy document defining the vision of our organization for the future, and above all, the opening of negotiations for a new legal framework for cooperation between the ACP and the European Union. Dr. Gomes, I personally have seen the depth of your convictions, your belief in a coherent ACP group, a renovated ACP group that is effective, fit for purpose, and appropriate to its time. Let me step away from what I wrote here today. As Ambassador Sila said, from 2011 to 2014, I just had arrived here. At the time, I worked with Ambassador Gomes in the working group for the future perspectives of the ACP group. I think you can remember Ambassador Rumpf and Ambassador Konjun and others. We all worked together, and today our work is coming to fruition. Your commitment was seen even yesterday when we launched the foundations of the Endowment and Trust Fund, which was one of our main projects to bring about the independence of our group. There was also the Malabo Center, which came from our conclusions, and I think you can happily say that as chair and as Secretary General, we have been able to achieve these two things, which someone already said this, these will mark our group in the future. Since 2015, you shared your knowledge, intelligence, and unique ability to guide this organization and take us forward when we were at a crossroads. You are an excellent diplomat, taking advantage of the acquis of the organization, breathing in new life and change to this intergovernmental organization. And there was often a great deal of passion, but that shows our commitment here to this group. And it is thanks to this that we are starting this year with big hopes, born from the success of the Nairobi Summit and the post-Cotonou perspectives. This was possible because we all wanted this, but above all, because of the efforts of the staff of this organization, starting with you, Mr. Patrick Gomes, and of course your team. Mr. Secretary General, we have mixed feelings today. We regret that you're leaving, but we're also happy that we will be working with someone new. Our colleague, Ambassador Shikoti, our former colleague. And I'm sure he will benefit greatly from the foundation you have laid for the ACP we all want. So we commend you for having laid this foundation. Doubtlessly, we will be, or the DNA of the ACP group will be marked by your passage here. Personally, it was an honor and a pleasure to work with you. You affectionately called me El Comandante. I don't know why. I don't actually come from a military background, so perhaps you could explain that to me now. To conclude, apparently Nelson Mandela said these words: when we have climbed a high mountain, we then see that there are further mountains to climb. That's the end of the quotation. So that's to encourage you to go on climbing mountains for the rest of your life. Mr. Banzi Onimba Kitinji, Nyasunu, all of you, you are also responsible for the success of this Secretary General. And the thanks that we are giving to the outgoing Secretary General are also for you. Thank you all for your kind attention.
Thank you, Dean, for that statement and also going down memory lane and reminding us of the good work that Dr. Gomes has put into our organization. He has indeed built a very strong foundation, and I have no doubt that we will build on that strong legacy. Thank you. It is now my honor to present a symbolic gift on your behalf to Dr. Patrick Ignatius Gomes.
Can you read what is put inside before you present it? Can you read it?
Okay. Chef de Cabinet has asked me to read the prayer. His Excellency Dr. Patrick I. Gomes, ACP Secretary General, with deep appreciation and gratitude from the Committee of Ambassadors and the ACP Secretariat for your leadership and dedication to the cause of the ACP Group of States. Brussels, 28 February 2020.
Sorry, yes. I'm admiring the chairman all the time. I can look at the camera. May I say I accept this on behalf of the entire management team. It's never been what I did because we did it together. You made it possible. You made all the success possible. It is in fact because I was only a spark and I was only just there. So you set everything aflame and afire. The staff, everybody, I'm happy. Ambassador Miriam has traveled up Uganda, the ambassador who is very busy with other occupations. Happy to see you. Happy to see you here. And so many others. Ambassador Norma, I know how much you are there. But you have always been. And it's only because you have. When I come in, as I said to the staff in the morning, and the security is goody, and he greets me, I know that that day I'm energized. You made it possible, not me. So thank you very much.
Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we have almost come to the end of our program. And but before we go downstairs for the reception, I would again want to thank Dr. Gomes and his team for their hard work and dedication to the service of the ACP. As I said in my opening remarks, it is not the end. And I think all the other coordinators that delivered statements here did say that SG and your team, you shall always be part of our group. You shall always be part of ACP. And come the end of the year, when we sign the new agreement, you shall be remembered for the hard work that you put in for us to reach that milestone. Thank you again. And on behalf of all my colleagues here, I wish you farewell. And thank you. Dr. Gomes and the team would be coming around to bid all of us individually, farewell before we go downstairs. They'll be guided by the Chief of Protocol.